Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Shallow Karen begs me for my Snapchat after I lost a ton of weight. After that, am I the jerk for making my 15-year-old daughter get a job to pay for our dog's vet bills? And after that, take my car without permission? Get the cops called on you. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to bother anyone on Snapchat. Snapchat? Bruh, what year is this? So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for news stories from Reddit every single day. Shallow Karen begs me for my Snapchat after I lost a ton of weight. Me, 27 male, and Annie, 27 female, had been best friends since junior high school. We had different social circles, even though we tried to include each other. Annie was part of the popular crowd and has kept these same friends until today. I grew up severely overweight. I was heavy all throughout high school and college. I was lucky enough to have Annie as my friend, so I was always included in things. I was always the tag-along. Annie's friends mostly acted like I wasn't there. I'm still around her friends on a regular basis now. About 6 months ago, I made a lifestyle change. I was tired of being overweight and getting turned down because of it. I've now lost about 75 pounds and I feel incredible. Annie has been my biggest supporter and was my gym buddy. I haven't seen her friends since January because I was in gym mode, but Annie decided to host a party at her new place. I was invited, but I didn't want to go. I explained to her how I didn't want to have a connection with people that knew me when I was overweight. I wanted a clean slate, but she insisted, so I came. So I posted a gym selfie, totally unlike me, and one of Annie's friends, Claire, slides into my DMs and said, "Wow, you look so different. Congrats. How did you do it?" I explained a few of my tips, and then she asked for my Snapchat. I sent the laughing emoji and never responded again. I show up to Annie's, and all of a sudden, I feel like the new kid in school. All of her friends who previously never even acknowledged me wanted to talk now. It really upset me. One said, "OP, I had no idea you knew so much about cooking." I said, "You would if you had taken the time to get to know me the last decade," and walked off to go meet Annie. As I'm talking to Annie, the friend that DM'd me walks up. She says how great I looked and asked why I never gave her my Snapchat. I said, because I don't deal with shallow people. And she knew me for a decade and didn't want my Snap. So that's why I laughed. She excused herself and Annie followed her. I waited outside and Annie came back furious, saying she talked to her friends and they all felt embarrassed. I said they should, because they are shallow. Annie got all offended and said I'm being a jerk. I said she is far too good of a person to have these types of friends and she should be embarrassed. She asked what I meant. I said she has shallow friends who treated her best friend like a ghost for a decade, but now I'm supposed to give them my attention? That she's a bad friend to me to have to keep these friends. She started crying and said something about how I used to have the best personality, but now I'm a jerk. I said, maybe I am, but better than being a part of a shallow friend group, and I left the party. Annie's sister, who I am close with, called me today, saying that Annie is upset and felt like she lost her best friend, but that I said some pretty messed up stuff and I need to apologize. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. In this scenario, you are 1. Being really rude, 2. Acting smug and cool because you've lost some weight, which I doubt the younger you would approve of, and most importantly, 3. Doing a disservice to the person who's been a very good friend to you for much of your life, and essentially telling her it's okay for you to act like a jerk at her party because her friends, people she presumably likes, all suck. Sorry, mate. Good luck on your fitness journey, and I hope you can do as much work on your interior as you have on your exterior. But her friends do suck, and why is it rude to call it out? He was asked a question and he gave an answer. He doesn't sound smug at all. He sounds like he grew into the confidence to not feel like he was better tagging along with the in crowd than being outside of it. Props. The only problem with that interpretation is that he went to his friend's party at her invitation, then proceeded to go off on the other people she invited. They are her friends. If he doesn't want them to be his, fine, but he owes Annie the courtesy of not dragging her into a wholesale, let alone implying she's responsible for it. He answered the question honestly. He didn't give her his Snap because she was shallow. When they said they didn't know anything about him, he pointed out that they could. I'm shocked that people see this as going off, but to me, it's a perfectly reasonable reaction to being treated like a human being by people who have actively ignored you. That they all gave him these opportunities just shows a lack of self-awareness. When I'm around people I was a jerk to in high school or who were a jerk to me, I just keep it to small talk and get out of the conversation ASAP. She insisted he go, and he could have been fairer to her, I agree. But equally, she cannot be entirely unaware of how they have treated him over the years. She never noticed that she was the only one who invited him, that she was the only one who spoke to him? I don't buy it. They probably talked smack behind his back too. For her to act as if he was completely in the wrong is frankly pretty callous. Perfectly reasonable? His friend of many years, whom he admits has always been good to him and supportive, is now furious with him. So is her sister. And he's basically burned every bridge possible with people who may not actually have deserved so much. We only got his clearly biased word that he was treated so badly after all. This isn't the outcome of reason, of weighing up the possible consequences of one's actions. This isn't even the studied self-control you describe of polite coolness. This is just OP lashing out and reveling in the chance. Never mind who he hurts. It can be debated whether he was justified, but certainly he was unwise. You're the jerk for telling her she's a bad friend when she has personally been good to you all these years, as you have said. Not the jerk where the rest of them are concerned. They most definitely are. Cannot stand people like that. In the future, I would skip any gatherings like that. Something Annie will need to understand. You should apologize for calling her a bad friend and making her feel bad though. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or everyone else? Please let us know. As anyone who's ever made an epic body transformation will tell you, you will be treated differently by a lot of the people who you interact with. Most people just treat you differently when they find you attractive, because they're, attracted to you. Am I the jerk for making my 15-year-old daughter get a job to pay our dog's vet bills? I have 3 daughters, Phoebe, who's 19, Allie, who's 18, and Janie, who's 15. We also have a 2-year-old Chihuahua wiener dog mix, Pebble. We were in the middle of a heat wave 2 weeks ago with temperatures hitting 107. Small dogs are more sensitive to heat, so we don't let him go to the backyard for long periods of time, and the deck is off limits because there's no shade on the deck. The problem is, Pebble loves the deck because he can watch the cars, people walking on the trail behind our house, and he can see our neighbor's chickens. Janie doesn't have first period and doesn't leave for school until 10 a few days a week. Both Allie and Phoebe leave between 9 and 9:30, so it's Janie's responsibility to make sure Pebble is inside, the fans are on, and that he has water. 2 weeks ago, in the worst of the heat wave, Pebble was crying at the deck door. Janie got annoyed and let him go on the deck. Then she left for school and forgot him on the deck. Allie came home a few hours later and started looking for Pebble. She found him passed out on the deck and called me crying. I left work early, took him to the emergency vet. They treated him for heat stroke. He had to stay at the vet for a few days, and Allie was inconsolable while he was gone. She was constantly crying. She wouldn't eat or leave her room, and she had a panic attack every time the phone rang because she was terrified that it was the vet telling us that Pebble was gone. Pebble made a full recovery, but now we have an expensive vet bill, and Allie still has extreme anxiety around losing Pebble. Janie's upset because Allie hasn't spoken to her since she forgot Pebble on the deck, and Phoebe rarely speaks to her and doesn't hang out with her anymore. Janie was upset about Pebble when he was in the vet, but now she's very nonchalant about what happened because he's fine. My husband and I have been talking about what to do with Janie. We decided on making her get a job to pay for Pebble's vet expenses, close to $2,000 after insurance. Janie's very upset about it because she has to quit swim team to get a job and says that we're ruining her life over a mistake. Now I'm starting to wonder if I'm the jerk for making her quit swim team to get a job. Also, she can't get a job after swim season because soccer season starts right after swim season. Then after soccer season, she has softball season, then summer training camps. Not the jerk. She knew the routine and knew better than to let the dog out onto the deck in the first place. It doesn't matter how annoying he was. You do not gamble your dog's safety for some peace. Edit. Thank you everyone for the awards. Regardless of what some may say, dogs are family. Agree with you. I don't understand all the people saying it was a mistake and she learned from it. Glad the dog turned out okay, but that is one heck of a mistake. The worst part is she doesn't even feel bad about it now that the dog is okay. Nuh-uh, nothing about this is okay. Not the jerk, OP. Make her get a job and pay the bill. I'd even suggest keeping a very close eye around her with a dog from now on too. Everyone sucks here, and here's why. Janie was clearly upset over Pebble's time in the vet. No doubt she already feels guilty from her mistake. Her sisters are being super nasty about it, making things worse, and on top of that, you want to make her take an action that would adversely affect her academically. And yes, sports are a part of academics. Athletes are required to keep up a certain GPA at both the high school and college levels. Without sports, many young athletes will actually give up on keeping their grades up. You admit that 2 of her sports, soccer and softball, are potential scholarship material. Well, a job that keeps her from performing in sports for even 1 academic year can destroy those chances. It can even be what keeps her from being accepted if it comes down to a choice between her and someone who missed no time in their chosen sports. Time also matters for things like starting position, etc. Further, at 15, her job options and hours are super limited. It will 100% take her several months, especially since, in most states, employees under 16 don't even have to be paid minimum wage. They can be paid less. I don't know about where you live, but in my state, minimum wage is $10.30 an hour. At 15, Janie would not be allowed more than 3 hours a day during the school year, and no more than 5 days per week. So that's $150 a week before taxes. After taxes, it's about $130 a week. So it would take her close to 4 months to pay the vet bill. And that's if your local minimum wage is at least that high. If it's the federal minimum wage, it will take her more like 5 months minimum. So you would be taking months out of her life. Now that I'm done with that explanation, let's move on to Janie. She 100% knew what her responsibility was. She failed to follow through, and it resulted in almost losing Pebble. You almost lost a family member over her failure. So, assuming you've already had to pay off the bill, most vets won't do payment options, and most e-vets require payment up front. Jamie needs to have a punishment that is appropriate so that she learns from her mistake. So ground her. No hanging out with friends. If she gets an allowance, don't give her her allowance until the bill is paid off. If she wants to pay it off faster, she can do yard work, shovel snow come winter, run errands, babysit, etc. in her free time. And make her do the research again. And this time, make sure she actually understands it fully. I completely disagree with you about the sports being academics in this case. The girl is a 3-season athlete. If soccer and softball are her promising sports, you can bet she'll be keeping her grades up so she's eligible when those seasons come around. The time spent working won't compromise that because they would have been spent at practice and not on academics anyhow. If she's serious about her other sports, this just isn't going to be an issue. Also, babysitting is very lucrative and could make it possible to earn money far more quickly than your calculations. I think a compromise of paying off half of the vet bill would be valid, with the experience of having a consequence making up the other half. A $2,000 debt is overboard for a teen who doesn't even have a job offer. $2,000 is a huge debt for many adults to tackle. Find a way to punish her, or find a way for her to repay or something, but make it doable for her age and circumstances. I have 4 kids. The youngest is 14. Here are some questions. Are you sure she is nonchalant? Maybe she was scared and was protecting herself by trying not to think about it. And once everything was okay, the relief helped. No one likes to know they messed up so bad. Instead of doubling down, try therapy. It may have really taken a toll on her, but she couldn't talk about it. Do you really expect 15-year-olds to never forget something like this? This is within the realm of accidental. Teens are people. People make mistakes. Your teen might get in a car accident someday. Personally, I would ask the teen to contribute $300 towards the vet bill. I would offer to pay for extra chores at home, or they could find other jobs. I would also talk to her about how she's feeling. Does she feel like everyone is mad at her? How does she feel when she sees the dog? Is it hard to be around the dog? Talk to her about her sister's feelings. Does she feel like her sister will be able to forgive her? How does she feel about taking care of the dog? Does it feel like this mistake will help her be a more careful person? Or does she feel angry and upset whenever she has a dog chore because she's angry that the little one could cause so much horrible stuff, and now she hates knowing that she still has that responsibility? I would ask questions slowly and leave pauses. I would be gentle and make it safe. I would tell her that I know she tries so hard to be a responsible person, and I see how hard she tries. I would hug her and tell her that I know she is a good person, and I'm devastated for the dog and for the sister. But I'm devastated especially for her because it must have been really hard to find out it had happened because of her mistake, and how hard it is to feel guilty about something that you can't go back and do over. I would talk about why people who love you are willing to hug you and forgive, some quicker than others, but sometimes we need time. Well, what do you think? Should OP make their daughter pay the vet bill or not? Please let us know. Actions have consequences. Everyone's saying OP is too harsh. You'll one day look back and ask yourself how it was that you raised a Karen. Take my car without permission? Get the cops called on you. This happened last night and I am extremely annoyed. I'm 34, female, and I'm a doctor, and part of my job entails being on call for 1 to 3 nights a week, twice a month. My fiance, Dale, 30, male, has been saving with my stepson's mom to buy him a car for Christmas. My stepson, Rex, 16, male, has a license already, but always has to borrow his mom's station wagon or his dad's beat-up pickup truck. His mom's car is lame and embarrassing, and his dad's car can only hold 1 passenger, not practical for a teen. On to the main conflict. Rex texted me yesterday around 12 asking if he could borrow my car after school. His friends wanted to go to the mall, but the bus route is too long. Could they borrow my car? I texted back a, sorry, but no, I'm on call again. Can you ask your mom? He says no. I told him sorry, but my answer is still no. I'm sure you'll find a solution. Ask your friends and you can all figure it out. If you see where this is going, you're less shocked than I am. I was up in my home office, the room where I keep my switch, sewing machine, and laptop, so not an official office, when I heard Rex and his friends downstairs after school. I was going to see if they needed anything, but they left after a few minutes. An hour later, I went to the kitchen, cleaning up the empty bottles and wrappers from their snacks. I saw the spot where I left my car keys empty. I began to panic. First, I bolted to the door. My car was gone. Immediately called my stepson. He picks up, and it's obvious he's in a mall store that plays loud music. I told him to get home now, and he laughed and said that I'm not his mom. He'll be home whenever he pleases. I'm not proud of this, but I told him that he has 20 minutes to get home or I will call the police and report it stolen. Rex panics and says he couldn't find all of his friends and drive home in 20 minutes. I told him tough crap. 10 minutes later, I get a text that he is in the mall parking lot and will be home soon. I called Rex's mom and informed her of his stunt. She was madder than me when I told her that I was on call. She apologized and promised to talk with Rex and Dale ASAP. Rex came in, threw me my keys, locked himself in his room. Dale finally came home around 8 and said he had been on the phone with his ex. He demanded to know why I punished his son. I put my foot down and explained I'm on call. That means I need my car. Rex stole my car. Dale disagrees. His ex agrees with me and decided she will not be buying Rex a car anytime soon due to his entitlement. Dale thinks that I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I didn't end up going into work, so why did I have to threaten Rex? I've only gone in twice this year while on call. Just because nothing happens doesn't mean that I am always clear. Rex is now grounded. Fiance barely speaks to me, asks me when I'm going in today. I'm not, and if I will apologize. I'm not budging, and I'm still upset that he doesn't get it. Am I the jerk? Edit, because it came up in the comments. Dale is 30, not 29. But yes, he was 14 when Rex was born. Don't get hung up on this. It isn't about teen parents. Rex's mom was 15 when they had him, and is one of the best moms if you ask me. She's who introduced me to Dale. Edit 2. Now I can see why my friend told me this sub can be a little much. I'm very thankful for these responses, but I think I'm going to leave the comments now and have a very frank discussion with Dale tonight. Rex is with his mom, so he won't be in the middle or get involved. Kid still wouldn't look at me and called me a jerk who won't let him get his own car now. Not the jerk. Rex took your car even after you said no, and Dale is okay with that? Teenagers need boundaries and rules, and parents need to enforce those. Dale is the jerk, and he's setting Rex up to be one too. Rex owes you an apology, not the other way around. He demanded to know why you punished his son? Agreed that Dale is the jerk, while OP is not the jerk. OP didn't even punish his kid. She simply demanded that he return the property that he stole. The son rudely refused, so OP had no choice but to let him know that there would be consequences for his actions if he didn't return the car. Dale is completely off base if he thinks his son did nothing wrong and that OP should apologize. Even the ex thinks he's being 100% unreasonable. What would OP even be apologizing for? OP's fiance is just telling his son that he co-signs his theft, disrespect of OP. OP. So apparently Dale reads through this subreddit on his work breaks. He texted me a link to my post during his dinner break. A short time later, I first received a call from Rex's mom, who said that Dale called her and ranted about how I made him look bad online. She told him that she didn't give a hoot because he did not react the way a good parent should. Dale was so furious that he told her that he would be calling his mother to see if someone actually cared about his feelings. Dale's mother handed it back to him good. and reiterated to Dale that he was not an active part in his son's life until he was 6, so he has no leg to stand on. Dale tried to complain about how everyone was being unfair to him. She shut him up and told him that his son did something wrong, and this isn't about punishing him for being a bad father. Dale returned home a little while ago, about an hour earlier than he usually does. He looked defeated, but he was still short with me. Said he was disappointed that I posted, and now everyone who knows will think he's a joke and a bad father. I didn't think this conversation could end up with my ending the engagement and relationship, but it did. The house is all in my name, so Dale is packing up his stuff and crawling back to his mom's house. The wedding wasn't set, so no money or time was lost there. Dale said so many things that I don't even want to write down. This is not the man who I've known for 4 years, and I'm honestly shocked at how selfish he is. He said my doctor money would have to buy Rex a car to make up for all of the hard feelings. I'm astonished at how delusional he is. I'm done with the account and will not be returning. Edit to add that also, the fact that he wasn't in Rex's life until age 6 was a huge red flag to me. He never mentioned it and refused to admit it was a big deal during the argument we had when he came home. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Dale and Rex? Please let us know. You know what they say, like father, like son. Am I the jerk for taking pics of the cops because of what my ex did? I, 21 female, just got out of a 4-year relationship with my high school sweetheart, 21 male. We were so in love that I changed my college plans to go to the same school as him at his request. We've been living together in the same apartment for most of our time at school and planned on staying in it until we graduate next spring. About 3 weeks ago, he decided he was done and it broke my heart. I was and am devastated, and my whole world feels like it's upside down. Even though it hurt, the breakup conversation was amicable. I cried and asked why. He said he didn't love me anymore and that he was going to move out when he could get some friends to help him. Then he went and slept on the couch for the rest of the week. At first, I thought he was being classy about things, until it was time for him to move out. He said he'd be moving his things out during the day on Friday while I was in class, but when I got home, everything was still here. He showed up at about 7 p.m., right as all of our neighbors were getting ready to go out for the evening, with his buddies and 2 cop cars that sat in the parking lot right outside our apartment with their lights on the whole time he gathered his stuff. I was mortified. Our relationship was always good. Plus, he's got 50 pounds and 5 inches on me. I still don't know why he wanted police there while he took his stuff out of the apartment, but I spent the week after having to answer questions about it from everyone we know. Word traveled fast. The next weekend, my best friend showed up unannounced with a bottle of wine and 2 Party City cop costumes to try and cheer me up. We took all sorts of goofy pictures of her handcuffing me and both of us trying to look stern. It was the first time I smiled since the breakup and decided to post some of the funnier ones. I didn't expect him to see it since he blocked and unfollowed all my socials after the breakup. I woke up the next morning to texts from him and a bunch of his buddies saying how terrible I am and that I should be ashamed for making fun of him. I'm honestly just trying to move on with my life and heal with humor, but maybe I was petty for posting the pics. Edit. I didn't expect this to get this much attention. Thank you to everyone who shared words of support and personal stories. There were a few questions and statements in the comments that I'll respond to here, so the info doesn't get lost in a single thread. The breakup wasn't out of nowhere, but I still didn't expect it. We had both been busy with work and school, and things felt distant for a little while before it happened. I thought it was just normal life stress until he sat me down to talk. He didn't start with saying he doesn't love me anymore. That was the end of a couple of hours of conversation. Looking back, it kind of felt like that movie trope where somebody drives a dog out into the woods and drives away. Honestly, the breakup conversation wasn't my finest hour. The things he cited as issues in the relationship were things like me not paying enough attention to him and not keeping the apartment nicer, and those are fixable things, so I said I'd work on them and was trying to get him to not end things. When he said he didn't love me anymore, I shut down, because what can you say to that? A couple people asked if he was friends with the police who showed up. I don't think so. He's got a few cousins who are cops, but they don't live near where we went to school. A friend of a friend told me he called the police because of my dad. My dad is a big guy, but non-confrontational, and lives on the other side of the state, and my ex knows both of those things. My socials are all friends only, but I didn't realize how many mutuals we had until I started getting texts about the pics. I blocked all the people I think could have sent things to him, and I haven't responded to the texts. I just want to put my head down, get my degree, and move somewhere far away from all of this. Not the jerk. He's your ex now. He doesn't get to comment on your posts. Even if you did though, you were just trying to have fun. Well done on bouncing back. Info: did you ever learn why he brought the cops? Not the jerk. What a drama queen. You dodged a bullet here. He can go be dramatic somewhere else. So homeboy can dish it out by having a police escort for no discernible reason, but can't take it when you have a hilarious, adorable, cathartic photo shoot? So not the jerk. It ain't even funny. But the photo shoot is. Good on you, OP. Entitled sister wants me to provide for her and her baby. So I, 27 female, moved to the US almost 7 years ago. I have 2 half-sisters from my father's side, all from different women. We used to be very close, and despite both of them being illegitimate, I shared with them part of what little inheritance I got from my grandparents. They never recognized them and left them with nothing. 2 years ago, my sisters also moved to the US. My middle sister, 28, let's call her Mary, got a company to host her with a work visa. The eldest, who's 30, Karen, not her real name, got a student visa and moved in with me since I was already working and earning a good salary. The arrangement was that I would pay bills, she would get a job at the university since she's not allowed to work outside, and that was her spending money. I would cover all bills and food. The only thing I asked was to help with some minor chores. I have a dog and a cat, and I told her she had no responsibility while she had work and school. It was fine, since I work from home and I have a step family that helped me maintain my home, mostly because I'm the free babysitter for them. Pretty sweet deal for a student, right? Well, apparently that wasn't enough. While she was in school, Karen met Ken. I knew Ken from the time I went to university. He's a creep, but I thought he was harmless. Karen was head over heels for him. I warned her Ken had a bad reputation at the university, but she didn't care. She's a big girl, so I let it be, with the only condition that Ken was not allowed in my place. Lockdown hits, and my hours were cut. Karen's school goes on pause, and she loses her campus job. Because of all of this, we moved into a small apartment. I took a second job and did some freelance on the side. Needless to say, I had no personal life. I am dating someone, but he was also swamped with work and bills, so we barely met each other. During this time, Karen and Ken apparently got closer, and he began to appear in the apartment. Karen was not part of my lease, but my landlord was very understanding. Ken began making really inappropriate comments about me. I am not a beauty queen. I just look a bit exotic, as Ken put it. I'm mixed and from the Caribbean, so I have a bit of everything, and somehow it all shows. Karen looks more like our father. He was of European descent. In all honesty, Karen is more attractive. I only look foreign in this little intermountain region city. Ken would go out of his way to touch me and was just invasive. I managed to just keep in my room while he was around or use the excuse that my pets needed a walk. I didn't know exactly why, but Karen kept pushing for me to spend time on my own with Ken. It would be good for you to bond with your future brother-in-law. They had only been dating 7 months at this point. Whatever, I didn't care. I found excuses to avoid it. November 2020, I got a better position at my main career job, so I was able to quit my second job and have more me time. I reconnected with friends, and one of them asked me if I was okay. I asked why, and he told me Ken had been saying he was very close to getting me for personal time. I was not okay with that idea, and I very loudly said I would rather be hit by a train than doing anything with Ken. Since I'm in a small city in the Intermountain region, the kind that most people in the same area know each other, a lot of people had text messages or creepy stories to tell me. That was it for me. I went home and demanded an explanation. They didn't deny it. Ken even said Karen had said it was fine and I was doing them a solid as her sister, since he really had a thing for me. I told them both they were disgusting and that Ken had to leave or I would be calling the cops. Ken left with some insults sent my way, and Karen began telling me she didn't see the problem since my partner and I were on a break. We were not. I told her I was not for her to sell around like property and that she had 2 weeks to find a place for her own. I was done with her. I called all my relatives, sent them copies of the text messages I was given, and no one in our family wanted anything to do with Karen. She moved in with Ken a few days later. It took me some effort, but I was able to get a restraining order for Ken. Couldn't get one for Karen. Still, they disappeared from my radar, except for a few encounters, which were easily resolved with showing I was about to call 911. And then today happened, and I had to hold back my laughter. Mary had kept tabs on Karen, since sisters and all, and she messaged me with a notice. "Hey, Karen just called me. She's pregnant and Ken kicked her out." I just stared for a few minutes and responded, "Oh, that's sad." Mary knew and supports that I don't care or have any intentions to help. Karen used Mary's phone to call me. She begged me to help since Mary is only letting her stay for a week before she moves to another state. Said that she missed her little sister and had no one else to go to. That she knows I have family health insurance. I pay for private health insurance for 2 relatives that are in hard times and have health conditions, and that I should do something like that for her pregnancy bills. This baby is a blessing and I should want to help her raise it, meaning I pay for everything. I let her pour her heart out for a good 5 to 7 minutes, then said, "Nope." I ended the call. She tried calling again for a while, then stopped when I got a text message from Mary saying she had left her phone on the counter and she was sorry for the spamming. Most of my family agrees with me, even Karen's mom. The only one that disapproves is Karen's aunt. She's not my aunt, but I called her aunt anyways since I've known her for so many years. She's been putting pressure on me most of the day. She only stopped when I told her one more message and I would show her text messages to my stepfather, who is her landlord. I feel bad for the baby to a point, but this is one of those moments that all I can think is this is not my circus and these are not my monkeys. Edit 1. Someone mentioned the region inconsistency. I never looked into it since I didn't really care, but where I live I heard Midwest and Northwest interchangeably. As far as I was concerned, it was the same thing. We don't have that type of region in my country, so I decided to Google while at work and found out neither is right. I live in the Intermountain region. Thanks, random stranger, for making me check on the messy regional system. Not even Google agrees on it. Also, a small explanation of my grandparents. They were very old traditionalists. By the end of their lives, they didn't have much to give, so they chose to give it to the legal grandchildren. My father had many kids. I might not even know all of them. Grandparents were just tired of every other year having a new grandchild appear, and in some cases, a moocher mother attached. Last, Karen's visa. She had an extension since lockdown, but that is over. She's overstaying her visa. This is very common. I have relatives that do it. I don't agree, but I also had one foot in since my stepfather is American. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.